dear guest. First of all, my apologies for being late, for starting late. I've been in the car for about 3.5 hours, coming from Amsterdam. I didn't expect that. But while I was driving, I was actually thinking about this event. You know, us gathering for a topic that touches our hearts. And then I thought about climate change. And I was thinking about the exercise I wanted to do with you. And then I thought, well, I think this actually feels like climate change. Being able to adapt, to be flexible, to do what it takes, to create actually what is needed, right? So my name is Marcia Simon. I'm an independent moderator. This is what I do every day, every week. I work with people. I love to work with people, not as an audience, but as participants. And so this beautiful collective of people that is organizing these kinds of events, which we call the Unexpected Encounters, they invited me to work with you. So who of you thought, we're going to an event, we're going to sit and listen? Okay, well, we're going to do something different. Who of you thought, oh, it's about climate change? That's my interest. I'm coming. Yeah. Who of you is working on this topic actively every day of the week on climate change, trying to contribute? There you go. Can I ask you who you are?
I'm Raffaele, and I'm a musician in general.
So, who's a musician here in the audience? Another musician, I see there. Who's a designer? Who is part of the academic world? Scientist? 1, 2, 3. What I see here, somebody sitting, I'm coming over to you, I'm sorry. It's like, well, I'm a musician. Well, I'm a designer. I'm a scientist. No, not a designer? Why aren't you a designer?
I don't design anything, actually.
What does it mean to be a designer then?
Well, I don't know. That's a good start, right? I'm not a designer. I don't even know what does it mean.
Then if I'd ask you, what do you do for a living?
Software engineering.
Software engineering of what?
Of what? Does it make sense in my mind? No.
What are you working on? What are you creating?
Algorithms for a big company.
So in a way, this is a creator, right? Who agrees with me? This is a creator, right? Writing on the coach, right? Yeah, Philip, I know him. I'm sorry, Philip. Thank you for coming. This is, of course, the fourth event that we are doing. Unexpected encounter. Before we were talking about, okay, so how does it actually feel, climate change to us, right? And then, what kind of words do we use to tell the story about climate change? And then we had an event about how do we actually see it? How do we visualize? And I think, Philip, I also saw you there. You came again. With what expectation did you come today?
Wow. New insights. I don't know. Funny thing, I just realized you spoke about that you're a moderator. Is it because moder is part of moderator?
That's a very nice question. I never get questions back though. but my question to you was first, what was your expectation today?
Well, I am a creative, I think. And to me, everything that helps me create is just the expansion of my frame of reference. And an evening like tonight always brings new ideas, new perspectives, new references, new projects, new insights. And I think in your mind, something magic every time always happens. That's why I think he's a designer. You're always combining what you know and the world you know and understand, and you bring that into a new way of dealing with the world. And everything you do is, in a sense, creative. So it helps my own creativity.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So welcome to the design community. Software engineer, with what expectation did you come tonight?
I will be very honest. I came to see Raffaele play that very weird instrument. But yeah, I knew that it was about climate change, and I'm pretty much related with that. Yeah, so I'm pretty open to see what comes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What's your name?
Alex.
Alex. Okay. So, Alex, you are the reason we are doing what we are doing here. So, Collaborations for Future is the mother, actually, of this, which is a design research project that is actually exploring ways that the academic world can work together with the creative sector to actually find ways, to work on these climate challenges, because an academic cannot do it on their own anymore. They have to work together with entrepreneurs to actually bring the academic knowledge to the market, to society, because society is waiting for problem solving, for impact, right? Creatives, of course, being as sensitive and open as they are looking at the world thinking, okay, yes, we always wanted things to be differently, but now big time, it's big challenges, it's urgent matters, right? We cannot do that alone. So tonight is all about, indeed, multidisciplinary collaboration. So thank you for coming. We need you. We all need each other. And since I was in the car for such a long time, I want you to get up on your feet. Could you do that for me? Put your feet under your hips. Point your toes forward. Hands loose. And let's all take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. In your own tempo, do it 3 times. Continue to do so. Try to follow your own breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Hands loose. Also loosen the knees, wobble a little bit. Relax the body. Today we came to an event because we are interested in climate change, in collaboration, in design, in research, and how that we can work in it together, right? Please close your eyes if you feel comfortable with it. Now imagine that you actually are climate change. It's not something that's happening around you. You are climate change. What are the first things that come to your body? Not to your mind, to your body. How does that feel to be climate change? Do you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel movement? Do you feel anger? Or do you actually feel relaxed? Because, hey, I'm doing what I have to do. I'm climate change. I'm very curious what kind of words, impressions, while we are embodying, actually, climate change ourselves with our bodies, what comes to mind? Open your eyes. Look around and find somebody that you don't know yet. And go and meet each other. Really sit next to each other, stand next to each other, and say hi. In twos. And now that you found somebody, you found a mate, does everybody have somebody that is a new person? We are going to do a little exercise. We are going to do a little exercise. You stand up, You face each other in silence, and you go back to that moment that you were actually embodying yourself to be climate change. Now, the one with the longest hair, in a minute, can start talking and can start explaining what it actually is to be climate change. The other one just listens. No talking, no nodding, no, oh, I feel you, or, huh, what's this? No, just pure listening. The one with the longest hair starts talking for 2 minutes. Let's go. How does it feel? Hands loose. One more minute. Ten more seconds. Round up. And stop. Silence again. Close your eyes. So to my listeners, what did you actually hear? What words did your fellow climate change use? What stick to your mind? Were there things that were totally different from your own experience or image? What were the similarities? Open your eyes. Who are you?
I'm Christine,
Christine. And what is your background?
design.
What did she tell? What was it like to be climate change for her?
She started saying that she feels guilty, but also with understanding that the climate change is also a process. It's not happening from the nowhere. It's a process. It has a cause. Yeah.
And was it a completely different story than your own experience?
I think it was because for myself, like climate change for me feel like tension and a bit of anger or sadness, but understanding it as a process makes everything easier because we can work on our flexibility or intelligence and creativity.
That's nice, right? So we all live our lives. We go through life and we live our lives as human beings. We meet another human being, actually also the same species, but experiencing something so much different just because the perspective is so much different. And now we meet two climate changes. And the one says, well, it's a larger process actually, and it gives you actually some light, some space. That's very nice. Let me go to this place. So what was it like for this person, Rafael?
So for her was it's more about the relationship between humans, but also between humans and nature, and how that it's a question of relationality and and this that comes with the processes we also feel, and I think that's more or less I'm forgetting something, sorry, but it was more or less about that. Yeah.
So, Raphael, we will see you on stage later. So, anyway, we have to get used to your voice. Was he right? Did he listen carefully?
She listened.
You must be so curious about his story, right? Okay, let's change. 2 minutes. Change roles. The other one, and really, the other person just purely listens. This is also an exercise in listening, because I believe in multidisciplinary collaboration is very important that we start to really listen to each other, to the world around us, right? So go ahead, 2 minutes. The other one. I'm going to get to you then. Half a minute. Get to round up. And back to silence. Close your eyes. Feet under your hips. Hands loose. Hands loose. Take a deep breath again. What did you just hear? What did you just tell? What is it like for us to be climate change in our bodies, in the language that we speak, in the images that we have and are used to see, feelings we have, colors we see? Open your eyes and you can turn to us here. I'm in the middle. This young man here, what's your name?
Johan.
Johan. You were already done after 1 minute, you said.
Yes, I was.
So he's already has a one-liner for what climate change actually is. What is your story?
That was not that short, but I managed to finish in 1 minute. But okay, I tried to do it again. That when I thought about me being climate change, I feel I'm something that brings change to the environment around. I feel I am a pure energy, and I do vivid things and make changes to around. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, positive or negative. But I do have a feeling that I change them and I'm changed by them. And finally, I feel I want to have a balance and a harmony with the surrounding things, and finally reach a balance emotion, wisdom, and reach a status that's harmonious.
Can we get a big round of applause for Johan here? Who, in my opinion, actually was really using empathy to feel like climate change. That is well said. How did you experience his story?
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting take. It wasn't necessarily what I had. I think there was a little bit a similarity in this kind of search for balance, but yeah, it was just really interesting to hear it from a different perspective. What it was like to think about, what does it actually mean to be a thing that is not a person.
Thank you very much. What's your background?
I'm a designer now.
You're a designer, and a designer of what, furniture, or what do you do?
Product and then maybe toy. Yes.
And with what expectation did you come today?
I'm a friend of Yufei, and I hear the group speaking and also try to take some photographs of her.
Okay, that's very nice. Thank you very much. But you also shared, I think, a very, very important insight that maybe climate change isn't that bad at all. Actually, if we come to think of it from your perspective, right? You've read the word embodiment. What does that mean to you?
Embrace and into my body.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, people, sit down, please, and relax. So far, maybe an unexpected introduction to an evening today. Welcome to Unexpected Encounter, which is hosted by Foundation We Are. Can we get a big round of applause for Foundation We Are? Together with the Social Design Showdown and Pakhuis de Zwijger. And I think this is the reason why we come here, right? To meet each other, to actually hear about different perspectives, and to see how we can actually work together to move forward into a hopefully more bright future, while we actually know that climate will go its way, right? It will go its way. It's us needing to find a way in it. Thank you for cooperating. That touches my heart. It's really nice to see you. Yeah, and Yufei, you're already introduced by your friend. He make beautiful pictures of you. Rafaela was also already introduced because we were sharing your story. The one we didn't hear yet was you. Please come here. Can I ask you, what was your feeling of being climate change?
That was really interesting. I just explained it's so hard to embody climate change because we cannot really grasp it. We don't really know what it is. But then my feeling was actually quite comfortable, like being climate change. I expected, like when you explained the exercise, like feeling uncomfortable and guilty, but I didn't. So that was really interesting. I felt like this is just me doing my thing, right? So it was really interesting, but also really hard to feel it in my own body because it's such a big, thing or not a thing, process. Yeah.
Reineke van Tol, which is the scientist from the academic world, of course, in our middle. Can I get a big round of applause for our first speaker? Reineke, please take a seat. Let me introduce Yufei. Yufei, please, maybe sit in the middle. Big round of applause for Yufei. And last but definitely not least, Leo. Come on, please, you can sit here. Thank you. Yes. Are all the mics on? Raphael, maybe start with you. Already heard your story. You're the musician in our middle. Today is not going to be a talk. It's not going to be something that we watch. It's going to be something that we experience. It's going to be performative. We're going to do all kinds of exercises together. Maybe you can introduce us into your world. You are a cellist. You are a composer. You are, I think, also in a way, a software engineer. Well, who are you? What do you do?
Is it working?
It's just experience. Yeah, I am Rafa, Rafaele, Raf. Call me however you like. I am originally from Brazil, and I live in the Netherlands for 6 years, I think. And my background is mostly related to music. It's the focus was mostly composition, music composition. But throughout my education, I became curious to learn other things and also how to relate it to music with other topics that are important to nowadays to our current time, such as climate change. But other things, for example, public engagement, feminism, or so many other things, interactivity. So I acquire a lot of skills, and I'm very grateful for being in the Netherlands. I think that was the context made me really versatile somehow. I made my instrument myself. I program my instrument, and I make crazy productions with this instrument with other musicians. Yeah, that's maybe a very general description, but I think you have a good idea.
The instrument is right here. We're going to hear it later. In one sentence, what are we looking at? Is it a harp? Is it a cellist? Is it a cello? Is it what is it?
It is whenever you want to be. the instrument is. The name of the instrument is called knurl.
Knurl.
Yes. Do you guys know what is knurling? Have you heard this word before? Well, from the design world, maybe it's also interesting to tell. It is actually an English word that means this texture of rotary mechanisms. So if you Google knurling, you will see that is mostly this like grip, like with a bunch of like rectangles pattern. And that allows grip, but it also allows slippery, like rotation movement, let's say. And because of the instrument turns and the idea of, it's a very big metaphor. But the idea in music is also about tension and release, let's say. It became a nickname, but then it became the name of the instrument.
And you thought, I need a new instrument to do what I want to do.
Yeah, I started to reflect about the tool I was using as a musician. What was this tool defining about my practice? And I play mostly cello, so my background of cellist is in my head, but that doesn't fit me somehow. So it became part of my education, development, and my practice as an artist to reflect about the tool I use. And therefore, then I created a new tool.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So far, now we know the scope of what she is actually doing. I see the two other speakers next to each other nodding, recognizing, I needed indeed a different tool. I needed to invent something different to be able to do what I do, or at least what I feel that I have to do. What do you recognize in her story? Why were you nodding?
The most part was she said the Netherlands made her versatile. That's also my case. I came in here I had background in art history back in China, and I didn't really know how to use any machine or anything. And I came to Design Academy in Eindhoven, and I learned how to use the machine, but also how to build machine. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, it worked because we are looking at your work right there. So indeed, you were able to embody climate change in a way, right? Because you were here, you were graduating, and you thought, well, climate change in a way is happening while I'm graduating, or why not make it my co-designer, right? At least that's how I interpret your design project. Could you maybe, in a nutshell, explain about your project?
So my project is a huge, the original project is a huge installation of 92 terracotta pots. And each pot is designed with 1 day's worth of weather data, and the shape and pattern of each pot is determined by the day's temperature compared to the historical temperature like before climate change, and the humidity of the day and the winds of the day, wind direction and speed. And the three factors is what's driving the climate, or like the movement of weather activity. And that's why I choose those three elements to design the pots. And for 92 days is actually the whole period of me graduating, and I kind of just made a diary of climate change throughout my graduation. Yeah.
And you were already at the graduation show?
Yes, last year.
Which means many people saw your project. What were their reactions?
So I intentionally didn't really make it like overly scientific, but there's a lot of like science and mathematics in it. But people were first very mesmerized by the different shapes and how it was falling apart. The ones that I picked today are not very destroyed, but I have some very another information about my project is because I compare the average temperature, historical temperature, and everyday's temperature, and the more it is diverging from the average, the more the shape is unstable and distorted. So the more the pot looks like a pot, the more the weather or the climate is stable on that day. So a lot of people looking at those very destroyed ones thinking, wow, what is the technique? And thinking about the design aspect of it. And then they come up and talk to me, and then I tell them, yeah, it's actually about climate change. And then they suddenly, oh, wow, I didn't see that. Now I see it. And then they started to get into this topic, even if some of them were not really like equally concerned, I would say. Yeah.
And for that project, actually, you're talking about data. Did you work together with a scientist that knows all about these data sets?
No, I worked in a very low-tech way. I used the open data platform from KNMI, the National Weather institution, and I just made some algorithms in the parametric design environment, and I kept fine-tuning until the algorithm is doing what I want.
And this was before. What are you doing now? Are you continuing this story? Would you like to work together, for example, with a researcher to actually really deep dive into the data and see how it can be a co-designer to embody climate change?
For now, I work in two parts. One is for my own projects, for my own studio, and another part is collaboration with other artists and designers. And one project that I'm working on now is for the Design Fest in Ghent in next year. And there's another project about the weather, also in the form of a pot, but I wouldn't tell too much, and you can visit Ghent next year by yourselves. And it's also about climate change. And yeah, I'm trying to find ways to take this project further, and maybe trying to see design-wise and also more audience engage-wise, how can I bring it further? Yeah.
Thank you very much. I see you nodding as well. You recognize things in their stories. And what I like is that we invited somebody, an academic, that looked around in the academic world and thought, well, we also need some different skills here. You are a lecturer. You are a PhD candidate yourself. You have a focus on actually changing the educational paradigm, and you're doing it on the go, which means you have different roles. You are a designer in a way. You are designing a new system for these students to work with. Maybe you can explain what you do and how you work with your students.
Yeah, it's nice actually to realize I'm a designer, just like the software developer. And actually, it's weird that I only realize it now because my research is on education design, so it's in the name. So I work at Wageningen University, so I'm hearing the story about climate change and not all, but a lot of the research on climate change in the Netherlands is happening in Wageningen actually. And we don't have designers or artists. It's just, most people are looking into climate change or agriculture or nature conservation or these things. And I think it's coming a bit more. But I think it would be great to have people like you actually in Wageningen, because the research that's being done, people know the facts, we know what's happening, but we cannot really feel it, and I think that's important. So
why did you actually feel that is important?
Yeah, so I started actually myself. I did the master in forest and nature conservation, and before that
What is that?
Yeah, so just what it says. So conserving forests and nature.
Conserving, nature, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were actually already trying to protect it, maintain it, take care of it.
Yeah, so I started actually in Amsterdam with Future Planet Studies, which is aimed at sustainability as well. So as a student, basically what I wanted to do was to save the world, right? So I dived into climate change, into biology, into nature systems, and I got to know a lot about it. But then I realized more and more that it's it comes to people and changing behavior in people in the end to actually change something. So from more natural science, I more and more got into social science, and that's actually where I thought, okay, this is where I need to be to think about what our role as human beings is in relation to nature, to the environment, to climate change, and also in our education. So I started 4 years ago as a teacher at Wageningen University in forest and nature conservation. And actually the idea of their education is to learn about forests and nature, about the systems. And I thought, okay, if we only learn from the outside about nature, we're not really getting in touch with it. We're not really feeling what's happening. So then I got the opportunity actually to start a PhD, and I thought I should do something with this. So from the forest and nature conservation science, I went to education science actually, because I thought there I might be able to make a change. So I just started teaching in a different way. I had the opportunity. Nobody knew me, so I just started a new course.
And did you have students like these students who were just okay, we're going to do this. Let's go into the field and let's do what this teacher wants me to do? Or were they also maybe not comfortable with what you were doing?
Yeah, well, it's very different population of students than the people we have here.
We're curious.
So I designed a course, Wild Perspectives, it was called. So students signed up for that course, so they kind of knew what they were signing up to, but not really, because most of them signed up to being outdoors for a week, because the whole course is situated outdoors for a week.
Great incentive, of course.
Yeah. So, but then I invited them to actually embody these wild perspectives. So stepping out of their human perspective and actually embodying non-human perspectives. And for most students, that was uncomfortable and new, but they learned a lot from that. After the course, for a lot of the students, their whole perception of human nature changed, which was really interesting to see. And that's also what my research in the end is about. If we teach in a different way, in a relational way with nature and not only about nature, do we actually change our relationship to the natural world and all that's happening to it?
Well, we'll get back to you because we will experience actually the way that she works with the students. Please close your eyes one more time. What I really like about the stories, and it's really important to realize this, I think, while tomorrow we will go back to work, is that we are actually going the extra mile to make a difference, really, to contribute to what we feel it should be done. And what I really like is that I hear all these different roles. So we already had a software engineer saying now, oh, I'm a designer as well. Pick 3 roles. Next to me is Heineke. I'm a PhD candidate. I'm a lecturer. I'm a designer. Right, Heineke? Let's pick 3. I'm going to do a round. And I want to hear all the different roles, even though we are just with a few people that are here now, actually. Let's find out. Let's start with you 5, the 3 roles that you have in your work.
I'm a researcher, a storyteller, and a maker.
Thank you. Raphael?
It was not so fast like you.
I can do it for you.
Please do.
Cellist, composer, also a software engineer, I would say.
Maybe
Coder?
designer, yeah.
Designer?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Designer. Are you ready for those 3 words? Okay, let's go. Let's start here. 3 words. Your roles.
Designer, caretaker, and strategist.
Thank you.
Connector, storyteller, and researcher.
Thank you very much.
I don't know, I'm a storyteller too. I'm an enthusiastic
Energizer?
Energizer, yeah, exactly. I don't know, hobby chef?
Hobby chef. That's good. We should use that. And you?
I'm a visual artist, a designer, and a researcher.
Thank you very much.
Researcher, designer, narrator.
Narrator, thank you.
Researcher, I've already forgotten. Researcher, I think connector, and I think most of all a thinker.
Thank you. Very nice.
I'm a designer, researcher, and manager.
Manager. Aren't we all a manager nowadays?
Yeah, designer, teacher, and I also thought human, beyond all those labels, also human in connection to the climate.
It's nice that you actually mention it's a role we have, being human. Thank you.
For coming to me. Designer, researcher, storyteller.
He's really fast, isn't he? So if you ever need to speed up a process, go to him. Accelerator, another word.
I'm a designer, I'm an educator, and I'm a gardener.
Thank you very much.
I'm a scientist, I am a filmmaker, and I am a dreamer.
And now we really know who Alex is.
I'm a maker, I am a caretaker, and I'm a listener.
Thank you very much. We have a listener. That's very nice.
I find it hard to pick 3.
You can make 5 of it.
Okay, architect, placemaker, coach, chef. Yeah, that's about it.
And now we expect 5, right?
Well, it's hard to say, but I dare to say that I'm a visionary.
Thank you for being bold. Thank you.
Project manager and interested.
Do we need 3? We all did 3.
And an outsider.
We need outsiders. That's very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. With all these roles, we can move mountains, right? If we have a listener, and if we know what it's like to be human and look at it from another perspective than just from our own perspective, we have somebody who can speed things up. We have people, we have people that can really, do a research, that we have the data that we can use to make the right choices. We have people that can create a storyline from it. We can move mountains. I see it coming. Why didn't I hear entrepreneur? That was one of the roles that I feel I think we also need, right? We live in a world which is really based on an economic paradigm. I think we should also bring it to the market. So I'll be the entrepreneur. I'll bring our story to the market. Raphael, you already introduced your beautiful instrument. Are you ready to make us actually experience the instrument? Then maybe, do you need to set up something, or can you already start? Do we need Bernard maybe to prepare something, or are you ready, Bernard? You are ready? Okay. So let me ask you, What is the name of the piece that you will bring to us?
Well, spider webs.
Spider webs. And is it part of a show?
Yes, it's part of a performance, a musical performance called Dead Zones. What is a dead zone?
What is a dead zone?
Dead zones are places in the ocean that there are no more oxygen. And that's because of course, climate change, but also the agriculture sector, they just spread the fertilizers into every water, river, and ditch that you can find, and then it goes to the ocean, and then it creates this horrible. It's actually a natural cause, but then because of so many human impact, it becomes a problem nowadays. So it's basically places in the ocean that there are no more life. There's no fish, there is no jellyfish, there is no frog, there is no sharks, but there is one living being, and that is a white bacteria. And this white bacteria, it loves this place because it just finds wonderful. The climate's warm, there's nobody there. So it grows very fast and it becomes a spider web. So if someday you do scuba diving in the Netherlands at Versemeer and you ask, please bring me to a dead zone, the dead zone of the Netherlands, you will go 10 meters deep. And if Marcia and we are diving together now, I wouldn't see her because it will be so much bacteria and it's fluffy. Because I was there, I went there to record the sounds. I couldn't see her, for example, let's say. I know that happens.
So with this story, does she need to apologize? No, right? It's beautiful. You brought us in a place which is a dead zone, and actually didn't feel that dead now to me. But and with your music, you will take us to this spider webs. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go. Thank you.
Yeah, so this piece is always a bit of improvisation for me. So if someday you see this performance, you will see a different version. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. You can take a seat to relax. Are there people wondering how does it work? I know there are some designers. I know there's a software engineer now. Can you maybe, in a nutshell, explain actually what is so different about it? Why do you need it to turn, for example? Why are there the different strings? What are the knots doing? These kinds of things. In a nutshell.
This instrument has, let's say, acoustic parts, but there is also electroacoustic world, let's say. There are 16 strings, and as a cellist, I am used to play only with 4, but I wanted to expand the possibilities of tuning systems for me. So I was with the idea of creating an instrument with more strings, with more possibilities for sound. Every string is not only special because there is a different tuning, but it's also special because it's sensor-based. So what you saw now, all the sounds I triggered was live, and I was triggering them by touching the strings. And you see that some lights, they come up, and it's because I'm storing sound in the computer. Do you guys know what is a microcontroller? Yeah? Okay. So it has a little computer. That's what you call a microcontroller, I guess. And it's right there. It's like a heart. There is like a heart light. And I am mapping the sounds. What if I want to play new sounds? If I want to stop by these faders that are in the left side. Maybe some of you saw it. It's right there. Maybe I should change the position.
Is it still on?
Yeah.
It is. I don't dare to touch it, actually, but maybe it could be on the stage, because then maybe you can also see, because I think you were looking to the box. Can you now see it a little bit better? Yeah, because I think it's nice to see the inside as well. And when I look at this instrument, I actually go back to my feeling of coming here, being too late already, and then start this moment, this event, in a totally different way than most people are used to. I think that must resonate with you, that you come to an audience, or that you enter a group of other musicians, and then you come with this. How does that actually feel? How do you work through your feeling of uncomfortableness?
It's always different because it depends, of course. Like I feel like we are a very nice group here of people. Like we all are very happy to be here tonight. But of course, there are certain environments that people don't feel like so welcome, or it doesn't has a good sphere and atmosphere. But I recognize that it calls a lot of attention, and I try to deal, I guess, by not taking too personal, because it's a creation. I mean, every creation, I guess, if we are all artists here, we know that it's kind of like a baby. It just has its wings, You don't have that much control of what's gonna happen with it. So I guess I just try to take it like very impersonal. Like this is Knurl and this is me.
And that combination of grasping a topic which is so complex, climate change, these dead zones in the ocean, and I think you were invited by somebody else to actually contribute to another project. So that means somebody else was actually responsible for the data, the research being done, and then you can add on from your point of view, but you can embody actually what they are researching. And then you come also with a very strange instrument. Can you also imagine that I thought, well, isn't that too much?
Yeah, it's very, how do you say, polemic or controversial, because like we are living in a world that let's say we try to find solutions every time. It's more like, how do you say this term, techno-solutionism. We are trying to find solutions by developing new technologies, but it's just so controversial. Like with the topic dead zones, most of the scientists we were working with, like they say, but why don't you just try to solve the problem from its source instead of trying to revert with new possibilities, adding like seaweed or something in the ocean. So yeah, it's controversial because probably a lot of you are also thinking, but this instrument is with plastic. What are you doing here? And yeah, so there is a lot of points where you start to think, like what are you really doing? But just to give a brief description, this instrument is 3D printed with green energy and biodegradable material with recycled PLA. Maybe you know what is PLA? Yeah, so there is more to it, but let's say that's maybe enough for now.
Yeah, well, no, thank you for explaining also a little bit about the material, because I think as designers we are wondering what is it made of and everything. But I think what I find interesting is that you have these inner conflicts all the time. I'm already creating a new instrument, you make all these choices, and these inner conflicts, you must make choices from a certain compass, right? So you have a certain, let's call it a handbook almost, to make decisions. Does that also resonate with you, that you actually have to come up with your own compass to find a way to, explain why you do what you do, and then indeed sometimes you make a decision that maybe would not seem the right decision, but still you do, still you produce, still, even though you know. How does that work for you? You also have that inner conflict. You know climate change is happening because we are disusing material. Still, you're making something. How do you?
So my thinking to this is a communication piece, is essentially data visualization. I want to tell a story, and that's for that purpose. It's not for consumer use or anything. Like, I know we have a lot of designer here. Like, we always have this, as human beings, we need to find a way to provide for ourselves. And at the same time, we are under this conflict that we shouldn't produce or shouldn't really commercialize too much. And this is where it came down to me, that I'm still doing objects, but the objects has a meaning to it. It's not for the average consumer. It's not for selling. I'm not earning any money from it. But with this, with what I produce, I want to tell the story, and I want the story to stay with people who sees it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for explaining the doesness. Actually, I call that the doesness of your project. What is the effect? What does it do? And I think that's something I wanted to give to all of you. You probably already are thinking about it, but I think it's very important that you have that very clear, because all the time that we stick out our necks, right? We try and dare to do something different, and it's really important that you stay close to why you are doing what you are doing, and that you stay close to your role. That also must count for you in an academic world, to go outside, play in nature, to be closer to nature. You must have colleagues that say, what are you doing here? Do you have those?
Yeah, I think that's the most common question I get. Like, is the university the place for this? Like, should we go outside with our students? Because the assumption is that we have to learn rationally, right? And then my response always is what I do in my course is outside, but it's going into the deepest philosophical question we have as human beings, who are we in the world? That's the question that students are diving into the whole week, and by experiencing themselves in the world are finding an answer to that. And then people are like, oh yeah, maybe there's something in that. Although in Wageningen, philosophy is also quite a small area. But I have a colleague who's worked for 3 years now with me doing this course. And he is like really from the natural science in a totally different group. I'm in a social science group. And I experienced that environment as generally a bit more like open to different things. But he is not. So his colleagues were like, what are you doing? Did you go crazy? Like going outside with the students doing completely
Are you in a psychosis?
Yeah. So I think he experienced that more than I did. But yes.
Why do you think that he experienced it more than you did?
I think the natural science world is more strict in science as it's supposed to be, kind of.
Very technical.
And in social science, I think you're more allowed to question science and how science should be.
And how do you and your colleague actually answer that doubt of your surroundings, of your environment, your academic environment?
Well, it comes back to what you just said. You really need to believe in what you're doing and why you're doing it. And by just doing it, we kind of inspire people in the end because they see it's working. Students are super enthusiastic about the course that we are giving.
Why? What is the effect?
Well, what I get back from students is that, like, in that 1 week that we take them out into nature and let them explore themselves in the world, they learn more than in the whole rest of their studies at the university. And then media is coming to that or whatever, and the university is reading about that, and they think like, oh, something is happening here. So, yeah, they kind of get interested and get a bit jealous, like that students are so enthusiastic about our courses. So, yeah, I think by just doing it and believing in it, we can also inspire people, and we do. Yeah.
Please close your eyes again. We've been listening to each other. We know we are actually with quite a diverse group of people with all different roles. And we are a team. We are working together. We try to embody climate change. And I think we are all involved in a way in climate change, right? Let alone only to be human. We are trying to make something out of it, work with it. Now, within those roles that you just mentioned, and Yufai already mentioned the dozeness of her work, what is the dozeness of your work? What is the effect? Now, this is not an exam. You don't have to know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing, what is the effect. But just try to formulate a sentence. I see the world. I'm in it. I'm part of it. And I came here to do something. And the world plus me, my work, maybe my team, my project, makes a change. It has an effect. Now, what does it do? What does your work do? What do you do? And I said it's not an exam. Open your eyes. Is there somebody that would dare to share the effect, the dozeness of the work they do? I'll let you think about it. And I'll come back to you. So please try in the back of your mind, see yourself at work, see the world, see the change that you're actually working on, because I know that you're all doing it. You were talking about your work. Maybe we're ready to experience actually what you do.
Yes, we can, actually a little bit. Because, of course, I take my students out a whole week for an experience, and I will do it now with you in 5 or 10 minutes. I think I'm not going to explain actually what we're doing. You're already trained by Marcia by now. So yeah, let's just experience it, I would say.
Thank you.
So I will invite you again to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that and sit in a comfortable position.
Feet on the ground.
You can also lie down if you prefer. For me, it always feels good to have your feet on the ground. And then, if you're comfortable, you've closed your eyes, if you want to, first feel how you are sitting. How your feet are probably touching the ground. And then first come to your own breathing. You can feel probably the air becoming part of yourself, traveling towards your belly or towards your chest. And try to focus on your belly, feeling your breathing in your belly. And then travel in your mind to a landscape that has touched you or that it just comes up to you now. And observe that landscape. How does it look like? Do you hear any sounds? What do you feel? What do you smell? And is there something in the landscape that particularly catches your interest? It can be a living being or part of the landscape. And then imagine you are that part of the landscape, that living being or the landscape part itself. And how does that feel? And now imagine the changes through climate change that are happening to you as that being. Do you notice it? Does it affect you in some way? What feelings are coming with that? And now, if you had a voice as this being, is there a message you would like to share with the world about your experience or about what you think is needed? And can you find the words for that? There can be different words than in our English or Dutch or whatever language. Maybe you need different grammar as your being. And if you found words or an expression, there are post-its nearby everybody. So you can write them actually down. So you can open your eyes for that and then close them again. It doesn't have to be a whole story, just a word or an expression, 3 words. And if nothing is coming up because you're not able to give it words, that's also fine. And if you want, you can close your eyes again and stay with these words, with your being, and then sense how it feels that you actually were able to express something. And then I invite you to come back to your own body, your own breathing. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And then I'm quite curious if somebody maybe wants to share some of the words or expressions that they've written down.
First of all, maybe, what is the experience? How did you experience this? Let me go here. How did you experience this exercise?
Nice. I imagined I was in the mountains, so I heard a lot of and that's also what I tried to write/draw. I think it was right now.
Can you hold it up and show that you didn't write words down, but actually made a drawing of what you heard? Thank you. Let me go here. What was it like for you to do this exercise?
Yeah, I'm having trouble actually embodying these other bodies, beings tonight because, yeah, I think I need much more time somehow to get into that spirit. So I imagined something, but once you said go into that body, I was out. Yeah. So I find it difficult to do it in a setting like this. So I would love to do it in the wild, and also need more time maybe personally. So I was a bit out. Sorry.
That's not a problem. I think it actually adds on to what we are talking about because it's, if you come to think about it, we're talking about nature here, and we're trying to be close to nature. We're trying to embody nature in a way. We're talking about a landscape. We're talking about another species, and it's very distant. Is that frustrating for you?
Not necessarily, but yeah, I also think these, like embodying another body is not something fast that you can do in one night like this. So I don't find it frustrating. Yeah.
So you'd like to join the course?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it's a long practice. I think that we should all learn slowly, take our time with it. It's an important one for sure.
Thank you very much. Who would like to share what they wrote down, what you just asked, actually? Somebody else? Yeah, let me go here. If you raise your hand. Thank you, Philip.
I'm always ready to share. What she said really resonated with me. I did a course in Belgium, eco-psychology, and it is, probably you know it. We did similar exercises, so thanks for this one. The things that came up for me were active hope, because I think we don't need the Netflix kind of hope, but hope that engages you and that we are aware of our agency. So the fact that we are all interconnected and all capable of doing something, and deeper connection and consciousness are words that came up, because we live in a world where we are reduced to our mind, and if it's just a computing mind, we're losing from AI. And I think it also invites us to be aware of a deeper being human that connects us, and with that we can do so much more than we're doing right now. So yeah, this all came up.
Thank you very much. Could you maybe share with us what it does to the students after that? I mean, they go to a change, right? They go to a transformation in a way, I hope, at least.
Yeah, well, that's at least what I'm studying. But to give a little more context about the exercise, we did it now in 5-10 minutes, and indeed you cannot do it in this short time. So during this week, I think the students throughout the whole experience with different experiences in nature, and they are prepared also to find these voices. So they get, there's a writer coming over to give them a writing workshop, and she works with theater embodiment exercises to actually embody these different voices. We have a storytelling workshop of a storyteller performer. So in the end, the students, through their experiences with nature, in nature, through nature, and the skills in writing and storytelling, they prepare a whole storytelling evening with also music and art, and because it's impossible to only catch it in words, because that's kind of our human maybe thing to do, and that's impossible to find a voice then. But throughout the whole process, something is changing inside these students, and they really reflect on who they are themselves and how they interact with the natural world, how they are part of that, and how they kind of know we are, as human beings, part of nature, but they never really realized it. And our whole society is not that, right? So they feel like, wow, for the first time I really experienced this, and now I feel what I can do with it. Talking about active hope, that's also something that we use in the course, for example, to not only give students the experience of all that's happening to the world and leave them with that, but also to create this active hope, to create a feeling of that they feel they can contribute something and navigate in that world.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yufai, what was it like for you to do the exercise?
It was really soothing, and I was imagining I was in Antwerp in the Hoboken Polder, where there's this river running across Antwerp, and there's a lot of nature there. And I was imagining I was a little frog living next to the river, and I was imagining the weather getting worse and the temperature rising, and I was burning to death. And I was like, that's my word.
That was your word.
Yeah, but it was soothing somehow. At the same time, I want to scream, and on the other hand, I feel very calm.
Thank you for taking us into your world. Raf, what was it like for you?
The feeling or what I was imagining?
Yeah. Can you take us also into your world, like Yufai just did?
I was imagining a mountain close to my hometown called Marumbi, and it's a mountain with a lot of tropical forests and things. So I was imagining I was a person climbing, because it's a very intense climbing day. It's a whole day that takes to get there to the top. And then I was trying to see the image, and then when you said to imagine the changes of the climate change, I started to imagine some of the nature disappearing, and some cows and farms getting suddenly there, and some of the plants dying. I felt very frustrated, and it was hard to describe what I wanted to say to the world. You said to think about it, but I think I would say something like we need to design a new system or something like this.
We need to design a new system?
Yeah.
You mean as a whole system that we are living in, or a system of
a whole different economical system? I was just talking with you in our first exercise that I see climate change, like this whole discussion, also as a social, very much as an economical and social problem.
Yeah.
And I think if we find ways to relate it to each other in a different way, we can have a lot of impact into the discussion.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to, the next unexpected encounter will be in Amsterdam at Pakhuis de Zwijger. And we will talk about what kind of agreements we should make, to actually work on climate change. I think that's resonating with you. We are building a new system. We should come up with new agreements. And I think it should not just be one blood type making these agreements. We should all, be involved in that process of making new change. And I would like to share an experience I had. I'm also moderating sessions between different stakeholder groups, which is one are the industry partners. Yes, people like Shell and Tata Steel, and then you have the NGOs. So there's people from Greenpeace, people from also the Jonge Klimaatbeweging. They are there. Then we have the academic people. They are all in the same workshop. And then we have the policymakers. And we started with investigating what one group how they actually talk to each other and how they work together. And this was the industry partners there. And they were talking and talking and talking, and I was listening and listening and listening. And then all of a sudden I asked a question, but you are mentioning economy all the time. What do you actually mean with the economy? And then they looked at me like, what a stupid question. We mean economy, the exchange of services and products and materials. And then I said, well, what I hear is that you are actually talking about a certain economical system. And they were looking at me like, yeah? As if there was no option that it was going to be a different system. So I think, indeed, when we are talking about working together, collaborating, getting to know each other's languages, knowing who your students actually are and in what kind of situation they are and how we could actually invite them to collaborate together, it's really important that we really start to listen to each other and imagine what the perspective is of the other. How do you actually do that in your work? You are a musician. You speak a certain language. You know how to play this instrument. You know how to play the cello. You know how to compose. But how do you imagine your audience, for example? If you have a certain audience, a certain target group, you want to, get into your story. How do you do that? How do you try to imagine who the other person is on the other side of the wall?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you get familiarized, like what kind of public this place is used to it, first of all. But yeah, I think as moderator, you know even better than me because you seem really good at it, that you can read people's minds and gestures, like what are they really feeling or like experiencing. And yeah, you can really connect it to public with very simple questions of like talking the same language, like we all have our technical skills, right? Programmer, artists, designers here, right? Chefs, all our different roles. And we all have our different languages within these roles. And if we don't learn to talk the language of the other first, you can never get empathy with the person. And so I think you notice when I try to explain something here, I always try to use words or ask like simple questions like, do you know what is a dead zone? Like simple things like this, because it makes sense for people that, have no idea what you're talking about. So, this is maybe one of the things I always think about.
You ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, and I ask, like you really try to get, like, how do you say, you really try to create a very intimate relation, like to become personal with a person, like
really you say, get to the heart of the students. Why are you actually here? What is involved? What kind of passion do you have? Why are you doing what you do actually? And then indeed ask questions. Okay, you find what do you do to invite another species to your work?
Another species? Wow. like it's a plant pot, and I can plant some plants in it. That's a way of inviting another species to it.
Yeah.
But like just to continue from her topic, that to connect with the audience, I think what we do as creatives, like visual artists and designers, we use visual languages. We use something tangible to communicate something abstract, and I think that's how I relate to the audience, or like fostering empathy through doing what I do. Yeah.
But may I ask, I mean, you work in multidisciplinary teams probably, right? Can you maybe take us to a moment where it was actually hard, that you really didn't understand what the other one was doing, or that you really couldn't collaborate in a proper way?
Well, I think the key is listening and maybe try to pick up a little bit of the other disciplines, like so you can have a more efficient working environment if you do that. But like that's very practical. But I think the key, like in very simple ways, to listen, to really listen and put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Thank you very much. How do you prepare somebody who is used to work in theater to work with academic students? How do you prepare your coworker?
Well, so far the people I've invited to my course were people I kind of somehow knew already, so that makes it a lot easier, because I think otherwise people think, oh, I'm coming into an academic environment as a writer or whatever, what can I expect? So they know me, so that helps. And usually I invite them to come to the program earlier and experience with the students a program part before theirs. And usually they do that. So they come on a forest bathing experience or something like that, and they can get to know the students. And that generally works really well. And I also prepare the students on the other hand, because
that was my second question.
Yeah.
How do you actually prepare the students for something so different?
That's really important in these kind of courses, what I call relational learning, and actually the whole first day is focused on that relations between each other in the classroom, but also the relation to the place that we are in nature. So on the first day we do that forest bathing to really land in the place that we are, but we also share experiences so that the students get to know each other, that they trust each other, that they feel there's a safe space to share things. I let them experience like meditation exercises, small theater exercises to kind of prepare them for like what is coming if we have a whole workshop of theater and embodiment, and they're not used to that. So on the first day is really important, and I built up the program gradually. Also, the more like deep emotional things, I won't do that on the first day. That's first of all like kind of impossible to get people on board, but it can also be kind of unsafe. So it's preparation both ways. The people I invite to come and teach in the course, but I think especially the students. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Who of you works in multidisciplinary teams? Who really needs to collaborate with different blood types? Let me go there. What can we learn from you? When does it go well?
All right, so I have to work with very, at first glance, very different kind of people. So, for example, developers and programmers. What works well? I can tell a long list of what doesn't, but what works well essentially is, I think, learning each other's language and how to understand each other. So having a common language to begin with, and to get there, it's not a given. So we have to establish that, right? And from there,
do you get the time from your client to also get to know each other within the team?
That's limited. So I work at a company, and time is a very, very, very precious resource, and it's approached in a very different way compared to, for example, how I used to approach it when I was working as a freelancer, or when I still work as a teacher. So it's very different. So yeah, it's.
Yeah, and how do you actually work around that? That you don't actually have the time, to really invest in each other, meeting each other, getting to know each other, but you know from your experience that it's really needed. How do you work around it?
Yeah, well, we take the time eventually, and yeah, it's just, I think, eventually you also grow to know each other and what you do, and the more you understand, I think the more you appreciate also the work of each other. So that's something that
Yes, I think that resonates with how I experience it. Indeed, you just do it, right? And then you have to accept actually that you're going to make mistakes. Not be frustrated about not knowing the other one, not understanding the other one, but still trying to continue gradually with the work that you are doing together. Somebody else like to share working together in diverse teams, multidisciplinary teams? Yeah, Ingrid?
I used to do this also quite a lot, but then we had tools also, and those tools also broke the ice, as we say. It's also a humoristic aspect sometimes in it, so that's a little bit of wit in it, and then everybody understands that. Common ground.
So you also are used to working with different cultures, the people from China working together with people from United States, with all kinds of different languages, different, behavioral accents. What can we learn from your experience in working with all these different cultures and teams?
It's all about love. With love, we can move mountains. No, it's really about appreciation. So you can also. I really was happy that we could also create this kind of like loving, appreciative atmosphere in Zoom sessions as well. But I think it's really very important to really welcome people, to speak to people's hearts, to set also the scene, sort of, before you really start discussing other things.
Thank you very much. You're nodding. Yeah. Why? What do you recognize?
Well, I totally agree. I was imagining the same thing in my experience when I have to work with different teams. It starts with, setting the tone, getting people enthusiastic about each other, listening, recapturing, rephrasing, thinking, hey, what do you like about this? And I don't know, that works.
Thank you very much. Somebody else? A round of advice, since we all really have to do it together. Yes? Thank you.
Be curious also helps a lot. Be curious about other people, their stories, their knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bernard, you're standing there, and I know that you, this is what you do, right? What can we learn from you? Working in multidisciplinary teams, how can we contribute to a nice working environment together?
Sometimes it's to set yourself apart and to let others just try, even if you think, ooh, scary, where are we going? I don't know, and just let them do it, and they will surprise you, I think.
Thank you. That also resonates with the curiosity, right? Thank you very much for sharing. You and I, we're always getting to 9:00, which means we almost have to round up. We've been looking at your pots there, as they are representing climate change. What can we learn from them in collaborating?
If I can speak from the starting point of my project, it's I didn't start with climate change. I started with a reflection of human and non-human's relationship through technology as an instrument. Throughout history, we always have been using technology to manipulate and control nature, to change them into our favor. And I was like just trying to do this very simple thing to reverse this power dynamic by having nature or something natural, having them control over the technology. And that's how I came up with the idea of having the weather data controlling a 3D printer, which is like the most commonly used technology in a designer's work setting, and also something that's like position oriented, like generation after generation of 3D printers, we always aim for something finer, something more precise. And I just want to do the opposite. I just want something we don't have the control over, and we shouldn't always control the technology. But with the final approach using the weather data actually also reflected the change of the weather activity and the climate throughout time. Yeah, that's a bonus.
There's abundance. How do you know that? Do you mean how do I know it's abundance, or like how? Well, you stated, there is abundance, and I also have the feeling that is actually true. And while I was doing your exercise, I was feeling the soil, and I felt really rich, and I felt the abundance. But I don't dare to say that. You dare to say that. How come you dare to say there's abundance?
I'm a speaker. I don't know.
I'm a speaker too. But how come is it something that you are very close to your intuition, you dare to speak up and share what you actually really feel and try to inspire people with it? Or is it based on knowledge? What do you need to really express what you are feeling and what you are envisioning?
I think I've always been a storyteller to start with, and I'm also a very idealistic person that I really like to voice for beings or people who don't have the voice. I want to either give a platform for those voices, or I find a way to represent those voices, and the latter is what we see here with my pause, with advocating for the ecosystem. Like the title of the project is called Gaia, How Are You Today? I was doing daily check-in with Gaia. Gaia as in the ecosystem is from the Gaia hypothesis.
That's true.
Doesn't matter. From James Lovelock, he's a scientist from the UK, and from there, if you really want to get into this project, it's a story weaving together into a big story about the climate. And Gaia is a part of the story, and we are all a part of Gaia.
Did you start to feel Gaia as a person next to you, or did it get a different shape? I'm just imagining you in your studio.
Not necessarily like in a person's form, but more like a connection. Because another thing that pushed me to do this project is I feel this disconnection with nature, or with everything other than human, living in a highly controlled environment. Everything is perfect. Like I have too much technology. I just want to, not only for myself, I think it speaks for many of us that we lack this connection with nature, and we want to somehow not only physically but also psychologically be close again.
We want to be psychologically close again.
Psychologically close to nature again.
Okay, not close, but close to.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood. Okay, do we really want that? Wait.
I think it depends on which kind of nature. It's not this ideal friendly thing. You know how many ways nature has to kill you? Many. So I think our idea of nature also comes from our idea of ourselves as something that has overpowered nature. But I think we have just sort of started to believe that because of that story about how we're destroying the planet. But it doesn't seem true.
Does that resonate with some of you? It really does with me, indeed. You know, if you come to think about it, we think we control nature, but we are really not, actually. Certainly if you know what climate change actually is. So yeah, there you go. Alex, thank you.
But you also don't control humans, right? So if you want to be close, and your two options are nature and humans, we are better connected to nature because we already clearly failed to connect us as humans, like because we deliver power to the wrong people. That's I know that nature can kill us in many ways, and there is much dangers there, but we as humans act as or even more dangerous than nature.
Is that true? You were the one protecting, maintaining the environment.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear this, because this is exactly what my work is about how we see ourselves in nature or as part of nature, as dominant to nature or as partner to nature. And in the end, it's at least true, I think, what you were saying, that maybe we don't want, I think not all people necessarily want to be connected again, but we need to, because only in that connection care can also exist. You only care about also other people if you feel a relation to them, and that's the same with the rest of nature. So it's in that connection, in getting to know nature, listening, feeling a relationship, that also the care for nature and the conservation. In that sense, conservation is a really strange word, actually, because that's very possessive language.
But can I ask you, in my mind I hear George Carlin, who used to be an American comedian, saying, care for nature, care for the planet, we don't even know how to care for one another. And that resonates with me. You know, if you look at our species, we really don't, we're not controlling humans, is what you say, and I think indeed we're not even capable of taking care of our own species. Then to take care of nature it's a very big challenge.
Yeah, and I think there's a big difference between controlling and caring, right? Controlling is what we can do, actually, to a certain extent. At least, controlling nature, we've been very good at that. But we need to realize that we are also nature, right? And with all the things that we are doing to the natural world, we're also harming ourselves, our own species. And that's what we tend to kind of forget. And I think, if it comes to controlling people or controlling nature or caring for people, caring for the rest of nature, what I said, you only can really care for other people if you feel connected to these people, and that's the same for the natural world. If you don't feel any connection to the forest, then why you don't have incentive to protect the forest or to care for it.
Thank you. It's 9:00. Let's close our eyes one more time, please. Close your eyes. We've been listening to each other. We mentioned 3 roles. We've been trying to embody climate change. We've been trying to find a kind of way, what our work actually does, what the effect is of our work while we are performing these different roles. Now, we've also been talking about multidisciplinary collaboration and how hard it actually is to really work together, because we first actually have to get to know each other and find a new language, find a new way to work together. Then we have this bigger system that we all believe in, that Raf actually mentioned. We should actually change that system. We're trying to get an understanding of what it is to take care of nature, take care of each other, shifting from controlling to caring for. Now, if you go home after this event tonight, what do you take with you? to let this evening, our sharing, actually contribute to what you do. And then if you look at the world again and imagine that indeed you have a effect. You create an effect. At least you have a kind of purpose to do what you are doing. And you were able to change one thing in this world. What would it be? What is the change you'd like to see that you are investing in? What is the change you would like to see in the world? We're going to do a round. Everybody's going to share it. Open your eyes. Let me start with our speakers. Heineke, what is the change you'd like to see in the world?
What I hope to see is more a realization of relationship between human and non-human.
Thank you very much. You?
I want to change all the competitions happening, like between individuals and also between countries, and like in terms of technology, economy, like everything. I just can we stop competing against each other?
Thank you very much. Ralph.
Similar to what you're thinking, I would say dialogue. We should find ways to connect more with each other. And yeah, that's
Thank you. Thank you very much. Cornelia?
Creating space for others.
Creating space for others.
Less dominance, but maybe the same.
Thank you.
I'm thinking actually exactly the same. Can we, this whole competition, can we just approach it differently?
Thank you very much.
More smiles.
More smiles. I agree with that.
Realizing we're all part of a system, so we can also change that.
Yeah, we're part of it. We're in it together.
I think getting rid of the species exceptionalism that we have with our feeling as humans, and yeah, with that comes all the knowledge systems as well. But that's a big thing, maybe.
That's a very big thing, but thank you. Indeed, it's nice. Resonates with me.
This is inspired by my home country's recent debate on renationalization, so that we stop the ideology from what has to happen. So it's not about political parties, but that we have to implement these changes going forward. Sorry, that's not a nutshell sentence. But
thank you for sharing. It's nice. Yeah.
I think the word I have is kind of unfocus, and I think it's maybe I have to explain that a little bit more, but I think I see that in the way I work as well. I can get overly focused on something, maybe a detail that doesn't really matter, and then to kind of step back and allow yourself to look up again and see what's actually going around.
Very clear. Thank you very much. You learned very quickly from him.
To have more empathic visions.
To have more empathic visions. Thank you. We were talking about that, actually. Yeah.
Collective active hope.
Collective active hope. Thank you for continuing your development in creating that vision. Thank you.
More empathy and compassion for others. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
More quality connections with oneself and the surroundings.
And you have an idea how you will contribute to that?
I will find a way. I don't know yet.
Okay. I'm going to end with you. Then maybe you can come up with something that you will do to contribute to that. What is a change you'd love to see in the world?
The end of capitalism.
End of capitalism. What are you going to do about that?
Nothing.
Well, maybe to do nothing. Maybe to do nothing, yeah.
Yeah, we can find a way. It's like organic system that adapts itself.
Thank you very much.
Mutualistic relationships.
Mutualistic relationships. What does that mean?
It's based on nature, so inspired by nature. Everyone can collaborate and get something from this interaction. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
What I'm thinking is maybe one step before that, to notice our relationality and interdependence to one another, both as humans and humans to nature, nature to humans. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm also coming to you. What is the change you'd like to see, Gina?
Think, listen to each other, look out at each other.
Listen, look out to each other. And now we have a presentation. No, I'm kidding. No pressure.
Okay. The flexibility of thinking and the softness of thinking and the acceptance.
Thank you very much. That's 3 very important words. I'm also coming to you, yeah.
I think taking care about more than ourselves.
And how are you contributing to that movement, that shift? Is that even possible?
I don't know. I think it's about trying to be more empathic with your environment.
We already heard that. Well, I think it's time to indeed continue dialogue, continue to talk to each other, to continue to come to these kinds of events. First of all, I want to thank you very, very much for contributing, for being part of this journey together, for taking my invitation to do something different. I think it was really nice to experience that that we really actually collaborated. I think my take on from this evening is actually, I am part of the traffic jam. I indeed am part of the system. We are in it together. I'm actually actively involved in a system that we've created, and I actually am a believer of the system because indeed I also feel that I cannot get out of that system. But even though I feel that today, I did feel that I could do something differently. I really took the risk to do something differently, and like you also do that. And I have a feeling that we are all actually doing that just by already showing up here and to dive into a 2-hour-long conversation together about how we can actually make that change that we foresee and that we can really put our work towards something that is so overwhelming that we cannot do that by ourselves, but that we really should collaborate. So let's continue this talk. Let's continue to come to these sessions. Let's thank Foundation We Are for hosting this session. Big round of applause. And I believe 11th of September, am I correct? At Pakhuis Versteiger? Yeah, 11th of September. And I believe Alex also wants to share something. Was it that, Alex? You wanted to share something, right, with us? Yeah, you are also. You want to share an exercise, or you?
Homework, if anyone's interested. I have a little experiment that you can try and would really help with some research. So if I have some papers that I can, I might hand out to you after we've closed off. Hopefully, it will be a bit of fun for you as well.
Yeah, of course, we'll do that, right? If we can contribute to what you are doing, then yes, we will take the paper home, we will do our homework, and we'll contribute to your research. Thank you for coming. See you next time. And a big round of applause for our speakers here. And now really drinks.